We are going to start out by talking about what is PHP. PHP is a server-side scripting language. Now you may have thought that PHP was a programming language. Well, technically speaking it's not. So how's a scripting language different from a programming language? The distinction between them is largely artificial and the lines can get a bit blurry. But we can do a general comparison. A script only runs in response to an event. It also usually runs a set of instructions by walking down the page from the start to the end. It has a little or no user interaction after the initial event. So PHP script does not run until a web page is requested. Then it launches, follow its instruction from top to bottom, and then quits until another action launches the script again. On the other hand, a program runs even when not to respond to an event. It continues to run and to wait for interaction. Whether that interaction comes from a user making choice or from other program or input. A program also jumps around with instruction a lot more, so that there is often not a clear start and end point, and it often involves lot of user interaction. Photoshop is a good example of an application. After you launch it, it's keep running, wait for more interaction or for you to tell it to quit. The tasks that it performs are not a linear set of instruction. It jumps around based on the task that you want to do at the particular moment. But as I said, the lines get blurry as script get more complex. They start to reassemble the program, and the simplest program are basically just script. So you could say it's a distinction without a difference, but we still can we still call PHP a scripting language. Now, what does it mean when we say PHP server side? When we talk about server side and its opposite client side, what we are talking about is where the code does its work. Does the code run on the web server, which is server side, or on the user's computer, which is client side? The client side, when we are working with web pages, is the user's browser. As a contrast, JavaScript is an example of another popular scripting language, but JavaScript is a client side scripting language. JavaScript code is sent to the user's browser and then it does its work there. PHP code is never sent to the users. It runs entirely on the web server and the result of the code is what's sent to the user's browser. That's an important difference because PHP runs on the web server, that means it generally can't run on its own. We will need to have a running web server in order to use a PHP. PHP code does not need to be compiled. It's executed by the web server exactly as written. Other programming languages, such as C or Java, require the code to be compiled or translated into another form before it can be used. We will be able to just write our PHP, put it where our web server can find it, and then we can load up to the web page and see the result. PHP is designed for the use with the HTML. It can be embedded in our HTML, and we can use it to generate the HTML. In the end, PHP is going to return HTML to the browser. PHP code is going to be our input and web pages are going to be our output. Now, if you have been working with HTML, you are already familiar with having .html or .html at the end of your file name. PHP is going to work exactly the same, but we are going to put PHP at the end. The PHP is going to tell the web server that this file contains PHP code that need to be executed. PHP is going to provide more flexibility than the HTML does on its own. HTML pages are static by their nature, so all the visitors to the web pages see that the same page all the time. A PHP lets us create a dynamic pages, and the page content can change based on the condition, such as interaction with the user or data stored in the database. You can think of PHP as a turbocharging your HTML. PHP syntax is going to be very similar to C, Java and Perl. The small details are going to be very quick a bit, but the structure of the logical expression and loops, those kind of things will be kind of familiar to anyone with the programming experience in one of these languages. Now that we know that what PHP is, in the next movie we will find out a little bit about the history of PHP.